Rocking with your boy TheCzarr, all rights reserved, CommenterNation, greatest nation since United Nations, stand up. Now, we're back on the topic about the 54 keys in chaos sector, explanations dealing with Kenneka Jenkins. Let's get a bit deeper. So I already talked about the triangle offense briefly, but let's get back to the understanding of what happened. That the only time this manager walked down there with police officers, he walked them straight to the body. But we did not see him immediately go down there or even react to there being a body found down there. We don't see that on video. But we do see video of a few other things that are very curious in nature about his behavior. As far as him kind of telling one of the managers, the female manager that first called the cops, we see that on video. He's slowly telling her after it, and that's when he began avoiding contact with the police, magically leaving the kitchen as they entered. Now, let me also add this in, and this is why this video is being made. Do you realize that the Crown Plaza, at which the video was requested by investigators, they turned it in the 14th after it was requested the 12th? Why the delay? Why was there a delay? Almost a day. Now, anyone that edits, that does anything with video, you know a day for a professional is more than enough time to do anything to video. So they never actually saw the original video the day they requested it. It was given nearly 2 days later, and let me add, it was the 14th around 11 a.m. as presumed and quoted by 54 Keys. If this is said, the editing of footage is a high probability. That's, for a professional, that's nothing. In order for me to edit footage a whole day, especially presume I don't sleep, I can have that footage together for you early in the morning, let alone to get picked up 11 a.m. So no one's actually can say they seen the original footage 100% without a doubt, because it was not pulled and handed over the same day as the request, let alone until officers showed up to the place trying to figure out why it wasn't. Now, let's look at this triangle offense at play. So you have a security guard roaming and magically going through places and stuff when the alleged kids that were her friends, as they said, were around. Then you have this manager that claims to be a food and beverage that also said in a statement that he was not aware of the temperatures in the freezer at that time. How is that possible if that's your job? You're supposed to control the product that is flowing throughout the hotel to feed people. How don't you know the temperatures of the freezer? Let alone, here's what the scariest part of this whole thing is, guys. And I don't know if you didn't notice. When the investigators requested footage and video and things, and shout to 54 Keys, as quoted by 54 Keys, they only requested hourly employee data. Think about that. Now, the triangle offenses I named are very strongly probable salary employees. You only ask for hourly employee data. That's a danger to the entire investigation. You don't have everyone who was on site. All you requested was from those who are hourly. That way, the manager even avoids getting looked at in depth. But you continued to question them and somehow accepted it. Let's talk about another thing 54 Keys brought up. 54 Keys brought up a great point with this one. They had initially asked, were the freezers fully closable? Now, I've seen footage and it wasn't closed. It didn't close on its own. So how and why would he presume it is if he's food and beverage manager and daily this is your job to see it? But we see the video when they do the initial looking at it, and it's not in any condition to work properly as it's supposed to. How would you not know this? What's the disconnect? How'd you miss that? See, again, this goes back to the 3 mistakes this manager made. Number 1, you made it so you had to be the first one that makes contact. And we didn't see you searching that area thoroughly, but you walked that officer right to the body. Number 2, you also stood up there and made a reasoning why your fingerprints would be on her legs. Her legs. You shake her legs to wake her up, but you said you saw legs and you went to get someone. So why would you be shaking her legs, and how would you shake them without seeing the whole body? I don't understand that. So how would you not know if the lights were on or off if, in order to shake her legs, just seeing her legs, you would have to have a light on to see what's actually there? It's not a competent way someone who finds a body would react unless they already knew something was together a certain way that they wouldn't see the body. How would you even see the legs if lights were out? Because to my knowledge, the body was found all the way in the freezer, not legs hanging out of the freezer. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? How inconsistencies pop up? It doesn't make sense. It's not logical. Let's get to the next part. The other mistake you made. You claimed to not know about the temperature, which means you weren't doing what you were supposed to do. So what did you spend your time doing if you weren't checking the temperature of the food and beverages within the place when you're food and beverage manager? But you blame it on the engineer checking the temperature. That makes no sense. There's a lot of inconsistencies in what he says, let alone why in the video do we see the female manager that leaves that area to make a phone call because someone's missing? Why do we see you tailing shortly behind her and we see you head the direction of that very kitchen? Now, also in that time period, 54 Keys showed there was 36 minutes unaccounted for. What were you doing in this 36 minutes? You weren't on video. Then they also showed you made a bathroom stop for 40 seconds. Why'd you dip in the bathroom for 40 seconds? Do you see how none of this is making sense? You weren't at the front desk. You weren't. You couldn't be in 2 places at one time. So how did you get an understanding to leave these places on the video we see as police are entering? Why and how did you do that? All curious factors. Now, around 8:34 p.m., I would like to know who the front desk attendant was speaking to. Matter of fact, why wasn't he questioned on the call he received shortly before he made the call at 8:34 p.m.? Very ominous. Very suspect, in my opinion. No one ever checked to see who you were calling, when you were calling them, why you were calling them. You were just doing it. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Now, I want you guys to remember, I said something very specific. When I first did my Zach TV video, I mentioned, I said managers. I said that. Because in order for things to work the way they did and her to end up there, a manager or two would have to know, because the amount of managers they had on duty during that time. But oddly, the investigators only requested hourly employees. Why? That's when I mentioned that this was something that told me something was wrong with the investigators in this scenario. Because you only made a request for certain data. You didn't ask for the whole of the picture so you can take it apart and actually understand it. Yet you played nice and tried to double back and ask this manager that slipped up again with the temperatures. What slip-ups that he made weren't a red flag to you? Again, this is why I allege the friends in favor method that allowed this to slip between the cracks. It's nonsensical. Police responded immediately at an earlier point to get the mother searching for her teen daughter off the premises? What was there that you didn't respond to see something odd about this triangle offense that is obvious on video? Go to 54 Keys page. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. What I loved is that Chaos Sector did it a different way, looking at times and the editing factor. 54 Keys ran off original video factors. It's such a great investigation. We're going to get more into this. This was just the beginning of what I have for y'all. You know how I rock. How I always rock. All rights reserved. Follow all the social medias. Subscribe. Hit the bell.